So I asked a question recently on social media, which is, whether or not people are comfortable saying out loud to people the words, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. And it seems like the overwhelming majority of people who responded to that are really comfortable. They voted extremely comfortable to say, I don't know. And I think that for the most part, I would also want to put myself in that category. And yet, so often, I know that I've caught myself, when I look back, being certain or projecting certainty on things that I'm just not actually that certain about. Sometimes I think it's to make myself look better. Sometimes I think it might be just to move the conversation forward. But I know that I have done that. And I know that just by the law of averages, if we take a look at the number of people who make declaratives, both in person and online, and just the likelihood that they have access to sure and certain information about the things that they are projecting, that other people have to be doing this too. And maybe this is not categorically terrible, but I think it might be a bit of a challenge. So just 3 things really quick from this book that I'm moving my way through called The Death of Expertise. And not everybody would like it. That's okay. But there's 3 things that I want to share really quick. Number 1, there's this term that got kind of dubbed a few years ago called the Dunning-Kruger effect, named after 2 people who did this research. Here's the bottom line. The Dunning-Kruger effect suggests that the more that you know about something, the more that you research it and get into the weeds, in effect, it actually sometimes makes you less and less certain about it. Or the flip side of it, which is usually the problem, is the less that you know about something, sometimes the more and more certain that you can be about that. And that leads to number 2. The reason for this most often is what they call a lack of metacognition. Ooh, that's a fun word. Metacognition. Say that. Metacognition. So essentially the ability to step outside of your subjective experience, to the degree that's possible, and look and say, am I actually doing this thing well? Do I actually understand this topic well? A great example that they use in the book, which is a well-worn example by this point in time, but is the American Idol trope of people who really think that they can sing, but objectively, everybody around them seems to know that's just manifestly not the case. It's a lack of ability to use their metacognition. And so the last thing is, I think I'm going to actually read this part really quick because I find this to be fascinating. This is from page 67 of the book. It says, what we believe says something important about how we see ourselves as people. So we can take being wrong about the kind of bird that we just saw in our backyard, or who the first person was to circumnavigate the globe. But we cannot tolerate being wrong about the concepts and facts that we rely upon to govern how we live our lives. So when you hear people and see people yelling at people online, sometimes it's about the kind of bird they saw in the backyard, but for the most part, it's about things that they're truly deeply invested in. And we don't feel like we can be wrong about those things because they are part of our story. They matter. And I get that. But nobody is convinced by yelling louder. So in a world where it could be potentially refreshing to hear people say, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'd like to walk through this with you. Not to get to a place where there is no certainty, not to get to a place where we erode our faith, but to not pretend that we do know things that we don't know. Because when we do that, I think we efface our ability to actually be confident and speak confidently and competently about the things that we do know. I don't know.